Today we're going to talk about how dating shows are free marketing for men that can't get a woman and men that do not deserve a woman, and how they're also ginormous traps for women. When you've watched this video, you will never see dating shows the same. I am a person like you and me, and I live in a society just like you do. Unless you live on Mars, then let me know, how is it up there? Maybe I should come join. Are there any men there? Because if there's not, I could compromise on the harsh weather conditions, and we're gonna ring the girlies up. We're going to Mars. Anyways, as a human being, I sometimes find myself indulging in watching TV shows. And one thing that I've noticed that have been coming to a streaming service near you is dating shows. Shows focused solely on dating. And the thing that I've noticed is whether it's something like Too Hot to Handle or Love is Blind or whatever it is, these shows always give me the ick, but they're also very good to watch. If you are someone who also watches my videos and you are trying to figure out how men behave without having to put yourself in the position of figuring it out one-on-one with a man in the real world. The one thing that I've noticed myself that I think is extremely important to highlight is that these dating shows, especially shows like Love is Blind, or not even Too Hot to Handle as much, but Love is Blind mainly, is that these shows are primarily promotion for men that do not know how to get women, that are significantly flawed and need an extra bit of exposure in order to be considered an eligible bachelor, because they are not. If they were, they would be in the wild finding whatever they need to find. And on the other hand, women on these shows are very much prey. And you think, well, these shows, there are people that end up getting married and supposedly they live happily ever after. And I'm not saying that you cannot find your one true love on a dating show. You can do whatever it is you want, honey. But the thing I will say is that these men do not care about the women they are dating on these shows. When they enter onto these shows, what they say is that they're looking for their one and true love, which is exactly the fairy tale that women have been served cold with a skim milk on top, a nice little bowl of, well, your true love is going to be yearning for love, like on some Bridgerton thing. We've been served that since we were children, whether it's through Disney or through our moms or people in general telling us that, what about love? And you know what? It's not so much women that tell us that. I feel like it's mostly men that tell us that. So another thing to be aware of. When a woman signs up for a show like this, you are literally telling on yourself that you do not have a better place to go. It might sound really, really harsh, but I'm not here to play nice. I'm not here to tell you what's nice to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. When you see women that sign up for these shows, these women are absolutely amazing. And a lot of them, some women on these shows are absolutely smart. We're going to get right back to that. But a lot of these women on these shows that actually go on there for love specifically, they will get played big time, because it is so easy for a man to clock that a woman who goes on these shows is someone who has nowhere else to go. She probably does not have that many other options, and this is her last and final resort. And that means that he can play it to his advantage, where he both gets screen time. So he's going to be literally projected onto the TV of many other women, and he's going to be able to get the benefit of being seen with a woman, and he's also getting to play his cards in a way that makes him seem like an eligible bachelor. This is exactly the reason why these men sit and cry like actual babies on these shows. If you have not watched Love is Blind America, especially on the Love is Blind America, these men will be on some, I haven't been able to find a woman. I went through all of this in my childhood. My mom did this, my mom did that. This and this and this happened to me. I don't think I can ever find love. And I'm not saying that some of them aren't like genuine men, but a lot of them, as you will see, turn out to be absolute scams. And they hook women by talking about themselves so that these women feel like they are emotionally invested in them, which means that they hook the woman that is on the other side of the screen, in the other pod, but they also hook the viewer because they're seeing a man who is quote unquote vulnerable. And they're like, wow, this man is so in touch with his feelings. And I want to say this very, very clearly. A man who's crying on TV is not equal to a man who's in touch with his feelings and who is not toxic masculine. It is just a man who knows how to use the game to his own benefit. Because a man knows women are generally very emotional. They're not afraid to be emotional, at least. And if they can cry a little bit on TV, talk about their issues, first and foremost, they're getting free therapy sessions with women that are not even going to be women that they have to take care of. They don't have to set up these dates. They don't have to set up dates. Everything is set up by the program. So they actually don't have to prove anything. They're just women that are coming in and saying, I'm willing to sit and spend hours and hours trying to talk to a man to make him talk me into being in a relationship with him. Like, I want to find true love. He doesn't want to find true love. He just wants free therapy because he doesn't want to actually go to therapy because therapy is frowned upon and he's not a true man. And if he goes to dating show therapy and like talk to a woman on a dating show instead, it's not gonna be seen as therapy. It's gonna be seen as like he was out there seeking love. So it's not the same. That's a way of him twisting it so it doesn't look like he's like a weak man. Second of all, he is taking up the woman's time and he's not having to make up for it. Usually when it comes to the woman saying something vulnerable, the man will say that she's too much, she's too emotional, or you're hiding something. There was someone who, revealed a little bit about themselves that they felt maybe sensitive a little bit. And the man said, oh, I feel like you're hiding something. I felt like you were hiding something. When if a man was a little more calculated with his emotions and not showing them, the woman would probably say, oh, well, you're just calm and calculated. So they turn it against the women too, so that they trauma bond with the man so that they can actually go further in the show, so that they have someone who can make them look good because it looks like someone chose them. Like, look at me. So the men are actually true pygmies in this instance. And another thing that they get out of it is, of course, the screen time. Not only do they get screen time where it's going to make them look like they're an eligible bachelor who's very emotional. And, when they get out into the real world after having broken up with this woman that they're supposedly engaged to or whatever happens, they're going to get people that are like, oh, you were on that show? Wow. I remember, you cried. I'm really happy to see a man be so emotional. Then he gets another woman in the real world who is willing to be his therapist for the night. And then his ego is stroked to the absolute maximum, and he is gonna be able to go home and feel like he's the man. So this is something that dating shows do for men. They are generally just marketing for men that have not been picked. And I'm not saying that there are men among these men that are genuine and that end up actually finding their soulmate, but we actually have to be very aware of these negative or these toxic patterns, because you can actually sniff out a lot about men if you're willing to sit down and actually listen and watch these TV shows. You can learn a lot from them.
You might say, well, I'm not signing up for a dating show. Why do I need to know how these men act on these shows? You are literally given free game about how men act if you sit down and you watch these dating shows, noticing how these patterns show up. And one pattern that I'm especially adamant about talking about is how as soon as the man switches up, he's expecting that the woman will still comply with him, and the woman usually will comply with him. She will do whatever it is she's used to doing, and she will love on that man the same way that she did while they were just talking, even though he switched up, because she believes in the sunk cost fallacy. She believes that, okay, she signed up for the show, now she needs to go through with it. This is exactly what men know. They know that when women enter these shows, they don't want to seem like they're the type of woman to give up. And they know that if they do say, I'm not trying to deal with this BS, then the men are going to be on some, oh, who do you think you are? You're mean. The best thing a woman can do in these shows, which can either lead you to finding your lifelong partner, or it can lead you to learn more about yourself, which is essentially the true lesson from this, is that the women that are actually comfortable being seen as the mean women, the women that are not willing to comply with the rules of the game, and the women that are comfortable with, switching up, saying, I'm not dealing with this, when the man starts exhibiting bad behavior. The woman that is not afraid to stand in her boundaries and say, I'm not dealing with this, and who's actually willing to go on these shows not expecting to get a man, but knowing that if she plays her cards right, exactly like the man does, exactly like the man do with the whole, oh, I'm gonna just go on here to get free promo. If you watch something like Love is Blind Habibi, you will clock the pattern of these women actually be comfortable standing up and saying, I'm not willing to deal with this, and I'm just gonna do things my own way. And this is exactly why the men say to them that, ooh, now you're a mean girl. Ooh, I thought you were looking for love. Because in reality, when the women stand up for themselves and say, I'm not willing to deal with this, what actually shows up in the men is the insecurity of knowing that these women are actually comfortable with mirroring them. And these tendencies don't just show up in dating shows. They also show up in real life. So when you watch these dating shows, it's very important to pay attention to the women that are actually comfortable with leaving and that are actually comfortable with saying, I'm not dealing with this. Because a lot of these women are actually the women that are not willing to let their time be wasted. And they're also women that are comfortable with letting the world know that they are comfortable with making the choice of leaving. That is a choice that a lot of women are actually afraid of making, the choice of leaving. And as I said before, you can actually find a man in this show that probably will love you till the day you die. And the same goes for real life. When you are dating, you have to be aware that it is a game. This does not mean that you need to be a menace and you need to act like everyone's against you, because you can be lucky enough to find someone who's a team player. You can be lucky enough to get that if you have worked on yourself. And if you are comfortable with standing enough in your own boundaries. But because men know that women generally have been fed this idea that they all want true love, then a lot of them actually use that to their benefit by making it seem like they want this. This is why they love bomb. This is why they do everything right in the beginning, to then switch up and then gaslight the woman to believing that she's in the wrong for being on some, I'm not dealing with this, when this is not what she signed up for. Because men know it's a game and that they're not afraid of playing it like it's a game. And this is why it's very important to know that when you're playing a game, you are going to have team players, but there are also going to be opponents. And most men actually see women as their opponents. They don't see women as a team player. They want to make it seem like they're a team player, but then they switch up on you, like in a video game. And this is also why we got to get very good at vetting these men, because there are great men out there. I'm not going to subscribe to the whole that all men are terrible, but I still do believe in vigilance. I don't believe any woman is immune to experiencing feeling like she got played. But when you enter into dating knowing that it is a game, which means that sometimes you will get played if you are not aware, because a game is all about, if you're playing something like Monopoly, you will be taking risks. That's how dating is as well. You will be taking risks, and sometimes those risks will pay off positively, and other times those risks won't pay off. They will actually affect you maybe negatively. We need to be comfortable understanding that dating is a risk. It is something we're entering into, understanding that we could get played, but being vulnerable with a man is something that can pay off But this is also why it's important to have certain vetting processes. Not saying that you can go through all of these vetting processes and still have a man move the way that he's not supposed to move. When we go back to the whole dating show premise, we're going to be able to see dating more of as a game when we do have in mind how these dating shows work and the tricks that these men are willing to play in order to make their ego bigger and in order for them to get more advertisement for being the man who is able to be emotional. This is also why us women need to understand that we also need to play things in our favor, and we need to be very, very self-absorbed, which is not being self-absorbed. It's just seen as being self-absorbed by men that are used to women sacrificing themselves for them. To the right man, you focusing on your boundaries is actually going to be an incredible turn on, and he will do everything in his power to make sure that you move comfortably in the right time, making sure that he's not making you feel weird.
I think one of the most important things that we can probably learn from these dating shows is that women have a tendency to believe very much in the sunk cost fallacy. And we're not here to say that only some women that don't know what they got going on believe in the sunk cost fallacy. No, because as women, we are all raised in patriarchal societies, which means that we are all susceptible. I can't pronounce this word. We're all at risk of being someone who thinks that, well, when we put in energy, that means when we need to continue putting in energy, even if we feel like we're not getting anything back, because we believe that the right thing to do for a woman is to keep showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up. There's nothing wrong with that. Women are amazing creatures that are willing to risk a lot for true human connection, and that's such a beautiful thing. But we also need to be comfortable understanding that there is no loss when you gain yourself. We believe that if a man, we see these women that on the shows that maybe go along with some engagements for a little too long because they're afraid what's going to happen if they don't get a man on these shows. They're afraid that they're going to end up alone maybe. There's nothing wrong with having that fear. There's nothing wrong with having that fear. But what we can collectively learn is that we're not here to lose anything. We're not going to lose anything. We're actually going to gain more of an insight on ourselves. And that's actually what we're truly here to learn. And a true man, the man that is truly the one for you, will understand that him dating you, you dating him, is actually all about self-growth. It's not about loss. And sometimes that growth might mean that you're not going to be perfect together. And if he can embrace that and say, okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's good. We're here to pick up ourselves. We're not here to subscribe to the idea that making one choice once means that you have to continue making that choice. Not when it comes to men, not when it comes to the hair color you have, not when it comes to whatever. You can choose to get up and choose yourself. And choosing yourself sometimes means choosing differently. And it means choosing to be seen as the mean one because you just didn't feel like that's what's going to make you happy. And that's good. That's good enough. That's fine. We're not here to blame women for choosing love, for wanting love, because it's valid. It's valid to want love. But we're here to understand that self-love is the most important thing. And when you choose self-love and when you're comfortable being seen as mean and being seen as the woman who's willing to walk away, that's when you're actually going to find the love for yourself that's going to magnetize the love that you can get from a partner. And that's truly beautiful. And we can learn a lot from watching these dating shows because we'll actually learn a lot of pattern recognition. And we'll also learn how these amazing women out there are actually standing up for themselves, walking away. And there are a lot of women out there too that get the man that they deserve and they want because they're not afraid of choosing and then not choosing, but